Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the How's Life podcast. Today, I have a very special person,
Woo woo.
my mother, Rachel Garcia.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How's life?
It's pretty gnarly right now since I'm on day 5 of being sick.
Yes.
I have a halls in my mouth and tissues in my hand.
If you hear excess coughing, like,
Hacking up a lung.
yeah,
That's going to be me.
she's all right. But, yeah, no, so we're winging it right now. It's a Sunday. This episode was supposed to have been recorded yesterday.
I
But it's
couldn't
fine.
breathe. It was fine.
It was all right. She's been sick all week, but we finally got her on when she's not sick. But
Well, no, I'm sick.
you're not that sick.
Hey, you know what?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. How?
I just want to say, can I say, please, as a mother, I'm gushing because you're so handsome. And also, I'm really proud of you in this moment. Us sitting here having this podcast is like you said you were going to do it, and you did. And not only did you had to face some uncomfortable things too to get here, but I am really, really excited to be here with you because look, you're sitting there leading the podcast. I love it.
I'm glad we don't have cameras because I'm smiling so much.
I know you are.
No, like you said. I mean, my biggest hater, but also biggest supporter.
Please don't make me.
No.
I am not your biggest.
No,
hater.
not my
You
biggest
need to
hater.
give
Not my
some
biggest
context there.
No, I make jokes about it with my mom, but like I say that she's my biggest hater. She loves me the most. She's my biggest supporter.
Some people need encouragement, like myself, to forward progress. Jorge needs hate.
I need hate.
He needs you to say you don't believe in
I
him.
need you to
so
tell me that I
he
can't do something because it makes me work even harder.
Yes.
But no, that's just how I am. The thing is though, like you said, this was a long time coming, and I know that I wanted to have you on here because you are such an impact in my life, and you actually like. There are moments in my life where I look back and I can't like think other than like if I did not have my mom here, I would be a completely different person. But since you were able to influence me and you had wise words and were able to work with me and teach me these skills that I have, whether that's mental health or running even or whatever, you know. So it's like I'm able to learn, and also my competitiveness. I do get it from you a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're here, but
Thank you.
when we're all talking about being a mom, I know that's very hard. My first question to you is, what is the biggest, I mean, because you have 4 kids.
I have 4 kids.
You have 4 kids that are crazy. The first one's all right, and the
they
rest
just go
of them.
down from there.
No, my question for you would be, as a mom, what are some challenges that you've had to, go throughout your life of, being a mother and having to influence us in not a bad way?
Oh, wow. Well, I have influenced There's a couple of stories. I would say, the context. So for those who don't know that are listening, my mom passed away when I was 10 and my dad when I had just turned 20. So I didn't have a ton of opportunity to look up to others and how to do this gig. And I did get an adopted mom through the family, the Terrys, and got to have a wonderful example and got a lot of wisdom there in my early 20s. But I would say having 4 kids, that's not for everybody. Having them in like literally 1 month, when you were 4, Isaac was born, and a month later, then you turned 5.
Turned 5.
Yeah, so 4 kids in 5 years.
4 years and 11 months.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I think
Thank you.
28 days? 28 days?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then thinking that through into teen years is a lot different. I think what's different is being a single mom. One of the biggest challenges that I've had to learn is to really get a clear understanding of what my capacity is. I can only do so much.
Yes.
There is so much need in this home at all times from all of you. I mean, it's right to have those needs, and I cannot meet all of them And so there's a lot of guilt and shame that can live there, but being able to say, okay, that's not what I want to parent out of, guilt or shame. So learning what is my capacity and what I can offer, and then being grateful for community and all of the ways that God has provided for y'all in spite of my limited capacity. But I would say that would be one of the biggest challenges.
All right. Well, when we talk about the challenges, those are the lows. I know that you have lots of highs because
Yes.
we do have some funny moments, but also we have some great like heart to heart moments. For you, what is your favorite moment that you've had as a mother, almost your favorite motherhood moment memory?
Honestly, it's watching how y'all's little personalities as little toddlers and that young age is the same now as teenagers, but you're accessing more of your authenticity and being able to show up as the way that I've known you to be since you were little. And I tell y'all that all the time. I'll look at you and go, oh my gosh, there's your 5-year-old self. But really, it's a joy to be able to watch your children grow into who they are and be able to see y'all make choices and that are honoring of that. And just honestly, my favorite is your sense of humor. I mean, it drives me crazy. Do not get me wrong. You guys have had to learn to read a room. Who you guys are around, which jokes are appropriate, which are not, based on
Filtering.
the filtering. But you guys are really funny. And from you specifically is like when I'm angry. My favorite thing that you've ever come up with is I'll come, into a room and I'll just, I don't ever yell or raise my voice.
Oh no, never.
And you'll look at me and go, sun's getting real low.
The sun's starting to get real low.
I love that. It makes me so mad, but it's so funny and so necessary. And then you used to do the little point finger and do the dance, which I'm doing. And
I think that was in middle school when I used to do that. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
But the sun's getting real low because I started. It was funny because I feel like once I got into 8th grade, I realized like I started to expand my knowledge of how I could be. I feel like I was very introverted, 7th grade and lower. But then once I got into 8th grade, I sort of stepped into this like, oh, I can be funny.
Yes.
And I think that's where that spark lit. And I was like, oh, I can actually be funny, because at the time, Alex was the funniest person in the house.
He has a very dry wit. Yeah. He's got the dry wit. And you have I would say, your jokes are in storytelling, but also your use of references is huge.
Yes, I reference a lot of things.
And it's timely and it's perfect.
It's on beat,
on point.
and tempo.
Yes. It hits.
It's very important.
It slaps.
It smacks, bro. It slaps.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
The Urban Dictionary. Do you know what Riz is?
Yes, you guys have informed me very well.
What is one of the most interesting words that we use today that you just don't understand how or why we use that word? Like the most slang or whatever.
Oh, it wasn't. Y'all aren't using it now, but I know it was recent. I can't remember, but there have been ones that I couldn't wait for them to die off. Bet.
That's not going away ever. No, because
when it first came out.
Oh yeah,
you guys said it
bet.
Every other word. Yeah, I was ready to put you outside.
No, because it is a very competitive house in the Garcia house, so we have to like use a term that shows like we are all about it. We're not backing down. So bet.
Yeah.
You bet. That's how it would be.
Yeah, we can't get through a dinner without lines being drawn. Yeah.
Someone's walking away and it's hurt, and 90% of the time it's you. All of us are all fine. You're just like,
I've said 5 times, I need y'all to stop, and then I just walk away. I'm just like, I'm going to my room. I'm done.
No, the roast battle is yet to happen.
No.
Ava, my sister, insists every single time that we have a roast battle. Oh.
She'll look at me, and it'll be quiet, and she'll just look at me and go, "Can I roast you?" No, my heart would break. It would shatter into a million pieces. So as she's walking through the room right now. Hi, Ava.
She said, shut up.
Yeah. I don't like the roast battle. Mm-mm.
Oh goodness. But while we're talking about it, you said that we've grown a lot. We've had to learn how to do things. One of the biggest things that I feel like you've impacted me on was when summer of what would have been 2020, the crazy year, by the way.
Yes.
Summer of 2020. I wanted to learn what I needed to do, what approval I needed to do to be in order to date somebody.
Yes.
One of the biggest things I had to do.
Well, first I said no.
Yes, first you said no. That's very correct. But you opened up about it.
Wasn't
You were
ready.
like, okay, sure, I'll let you do this. But you got to do this thing. It's called the list.
Well, I don't know that I had the name the list for it. I think you gave it that name.
I gave it I named it the list.
Yes.
Because it was, and here's what it really was. It was absolute HE double hockey sticks for 3 months because my siblings had to approve that I was doing it.
Yes.
And they would never approve that I was doing it.
That's
even though
not
it was
true. They
No.
gave you compliments.
No,
Your
they didn't.
memory is warped there.
That is true. I shouldn't do that a lot. But no, the list of 5 things. It was.
Okay. Well, hold on. I want to say how I came up with that.
Yes, please do.
Because
please do.
I am a woman and you are a man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told you, listen, if you want to jump into the world of relationship where you're responsible for how you contribute to this thing that you're creating, and it's emotional and relational, spiritual, physical, all these aspects, mental, then I can't tell you how to do that as a man.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can tell you is the type of men that I would feel safe being in that kind of relationship with. And then looking at you specific, here are the things that I think would need to grow in order to be better prepared. So it was specific to you. It was not, at the time, it was not specific, like it wouldn't be one list for everybody. So each of my children had different things on theirs, but go ahead. That was what it started with.
I
It was
forgot.
5 things.
I forgot what mine were, and I know it's probably over on the dresser right over there.
It probably is.
But
It was I know it. Do you want me to say what
Yeah,
I remember? I think that they were.
I can grab it real quick. Hold on, I'm gonna grab it.
Okay.
Maybe it's not here.
I thought it was.
No, but my Valentine's. I don't have it, but
You don't?
no, I have this. I don't know where the. I legit remember it being.
Here, let me come look.
I don't know what it is. But it's fine. We'll get back into it.
It was like consciousness.
I know one of them was like, you have to have friends.
You have to have
No.
life outside of the other person.
Yes. Gosh, I don't even remember what it was.
And emotional capacity for like being able to when someone's hurting. I don't.
It was a. I was so. I forgot what it was. I forgot what the list was. But I can say this about the list.
Okay.
That was a brief intermission. We
Yeah.
had to find the list and we couldn't find it.
it.
Big fumble, but it's fine. We move. The thing I was gonna say was that was so crucial to me. That list helped me before I got into a relationship and how to navigate that, and even afterwards, that being in place, that was installed, that helped me grow so much and was able to almost be like somewhat of like my parachute as I was falling to hold on to and sort of save me. And I've already worked on those skills and already knew how to do that. So I had something, a foundation almost,
Right.
in order to, okay, so I was able to do this. Now I can take the steps to do this and heal.
Right.
That was so important. And that's why I love doing that so much.
And then there was a second list
And then there was a second list for the post breakup.
when you broke up.
Yes, when we broke up. But I want to ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
The question that I wanted to follow up with that one is, after the list, what is to you the biggest relationship advice you'd give to teens?
Oh, kind of came from the same concept. I mean, one, what I would have wanted, the guidance that I would have wanted as a teen, because I did not have that. We didn't have social media, but we had the peer view of what was in and out and what you were supposed to do and not supposed to do. But as far as a parent guiding me in wisdom, I didn't really have that. And it would be to get intentional. my advice for teens and anyone would be to get intentional, get real clear about what it is that you want to create, what is it you're trying to experience, and then make choices in alignment with that. So if you're, for example, if you're in high school and you're wanting to just have fun and you don't really care about getting, having a girlfriend or long-term relationship, then okay, do that. But how about matching with someone who also aligns to that? Because you don't want if you're wanting a long-term relationship, then you don't want to be with somebody who's like, yeah, I just want to have fun. I'm not really into this. So that's one way of getting clear, but then deeper, what type of relationship do you want to create? You and I've had conversations. I mean, you have parents who are divorced. And so you've gotten to see dynamics that you're like, hey, I want to do this differently, or these are things that I want to implement. And everything is a skill set. Like, just learn the skill. Like, if you want to be in a relationship where you actually talk and you'll have hard conversations and get through them and actually get closer because of it, then that's a skill set that you have to learn. And then be willing to do that research. Be willing to learn relationships. Be willing to learn communication and get clear on what you want, and then make decisions from that clarity.
One of the things that you said that was the post list, the things that I wanted on my
What did
in
you
my next
learn
relationship,
after?
what I learned,
Right.
which is one of the things that I did do after the breakup that I had my freshman year. My mom challenged me. She's like, "All right, you had a great relationship, but what are the
Where
things
wasn't it great?
where wasn't it great, and what can it be improved on?" So I
And
wrote.
what were the deal breakers that
Yes.
would go into the next one? Like, okay,
Yeah.
going forward, I definitely don't want to do that again. Yeah.
So that's actually one of the ones that I had that you were sort of speaking on, is that it's number 2. There's 6 on there. I added a 6th one. The number 2 is that she actually wants me. She wants to pursue me in my heart. She wants to spend time with me. She doesn't want to date me just so that she could date somebody.
Right.
That's one of the things that I put, because I know one of the things that I've witnessed is that especially in some of my friends and people that I know, it's scary. Some people get really scared of having I mean, it's true, a commitment issue, or taking it to a level of seriousness. And so that's just one of the things those are just all the
Well,
6 things.
and to be fair, a lot of people who have the avoidance of that comes from a place of what they've witnessed in their own homes.
Agree.
So, if they've not witnessed it being safe to open up and share, and it be actually received well, and someone is honored for that vulnerability, then you'll find some people that are afraid to do that. But that takes time to develop, but it does take a willingness.
No,
Yeah.
I agree. So this all is a part of like a big bubble almost. Of where you're like, in my opinion, your strongest suit, your specialty is, which is being a mental health coach. But specifically, you are a grief and empowerment coach. Is that right? Is that how I'm supposed to say it?
That's how you say it.
One of the things that, diving into that a little bit, you growing up, as you said, that your parents, 10 years old and 20, correct?
Right,
That's what you
right.
said. That's tough, and that is a lot of grieving work, but you're also, like I said, a grief and empowerment coach. As your life as a child, how did that affect you? What ways did you get affected on that and then realized, okay, I need to do this work? And how did you take those steps to be able to work through that?
Could you? Yeah. How about that question?
Yeah.
It's a good one. I definitely did not know how to grieve growing up, apart from what the movies taught me. One of the closest, nearest and dearest movies for me that your generation will not know about is Still Magnolias. Came out the year after my mom died. And it was my first ever example of being able to see someone openly grieve. And not only that, but the character that, spoiler alert, died, died in a very similar fashion as my mom, that involved a coma and having to be taken off of life support. So what I realized as a kid was, I saw that movie and thought, wow, this woman is really expressive. And and her friends are like there for that. I think I focused more when growing up, because a lot of my peers didn't. I mean, it's it's really hard as a teenager to kind of process a lot of heavy. And so what I learned to do is just kind of minimize the heavy, to focus less on that, and then just what's next. After my dad died, I couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
It was that one hit me really hard, and I think I just had to learn that it was okay. And if it wasn't for one of my college, I guess he was our college pastor at the time, said that he said, Rachel, one thing I want you to know is that no matter what today feels like, 10 days from now, it's going to feel different.
Yeah.
And 10 days from then, it's going to feel different. And that really impacted me. And what I got to see throughout the rest of my life is that a lot of people don't really know or are comfortable being able to grieve.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of losses, and it's a big part of my heart to help people, no matter what loss they're in, that they can learn to grieve where they don't get stuck in depression and anxiety and sadness, and they learn how to grieve with hope. They learn how to grieve with hopefulness, and then that helps them as they learn to honor their grief to be able to move forward in the way that they want to, in a hopefulness, and be able to find joy again. That's truly why I do what I do. And what has helped me is to learn how to grieve with hope.
And is that what you would say also your drive to go and coach would be too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. To be able to, the clients that I've worked with of all ages, all races, all demographics, seasons of life, are really just trying to find a new normal, no matter the loss. It could be death, it could be heartbreak, it could be divorce, it could be a breakup, not getting the job or getting laid off, or about planning your future and just the anxiety that brings up, and how there's sadness there because you're going to be disappointing someone and making life choices. And there's all kinds of ways that grief show up and through loss. And being able to navigate that is, again, a skill set.
Yeah.
And just helping people have those skills so that they can walk through to the other side in hopefulness and be able to see their life come alive in ways and return to joy in ways that they've missed but desperately wanted.
One of the things that I think you touched on was that there are losses, but I feel like there's also levels of grief, or there's different stages of grief. And I know you know this, but could you explain to the audience what different versions of grief, if that makes sense, are?
What versions of grief? The types,
types of grief, yeah.
Like what you might grieve over, or the 5 stages of grief that Kubler-Ross came up with.
I would say what you would grieve over.
Oh gosh, I mean, what makes you sad?
A lot of things.
Yeah. So all of those qualify. So
okay.
A lot of people think it's death. When they think grief, they think death.
They think death.
But think of what dies. A dream dies. A relationship dies. It's not just a physical death, but it's when something that you had hopefulness for is done.
What would be, if someone had something of loss, what would you say, in support, to go and support them? So if I knew somebody that was going through a season of grief, what could I do to support them?
Oh, great question. Depends on the person, depends on the loss. I think most people just want to be seen and heard and not fixed, or not feel like they've got to rush through something because somebody else is uncomfortable. Being able to tell somebody, hey, I don't know what to say, but I'm here, is huge. Just being able to walk up to somebody in school and go, listen, I know you're going through it. You don't have to talk about it, but if you want to, I'm here.
Yeah.
Goes a long way. I had a professor in college after my dad died that said, hey, Rachel, by the way, all these people who are well-meaning that are coming up to you and going, hey, how are you doing? He said, you can tell them, I'm not doing great, but I really don't want to talk about it right now. And that was so huge for me because I thought, I'm Southern. I thought I had to answer everybody or it would be rude. And it was exhausting. And so he was the one that taught me boundaries in grief and being able to say, hey, thank you for asking, but I really don't want to dive into it. So being able to respect what somebody needs when they're grieving or when they're hurting is a big thing, and being able to hold that space to be able to, whatever it is they need, and it may change. 15 minutes from now, they may say something else and say, actually, I want you to be with me. But being willing to hear what they need rather than the instinct of maybe I need to fix this, maybe I need to say the right thing, have the right words. You don't have to. You just show up and just be present.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm coming back over to touch on it, but when I've had those seasons of grief and like loss, whether that
Right.
be a physical loss or an emotional loss, a heartbreak, a friendship, one of those things, I was super thankful knowing that, okay, this sucks, but I have my mom to help me with this. And also I have my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to come over and help me
Right.
with this. One of the things that just recently happened was that I was really upset and sad. There was a lot of things that were going on in my life in this past week, and things have been popping up and whatnot. And one of the things that I was able to do was I was able to step back and be like, okay, what do I need to do? And I was sitting down on my bed, and all of a sudden my Bible was just right there, and I'm like, all right, well, time for me to read my Bible. And I read, I don't know the address of the thing, because I'm terrible with that, remembering that. But I remember it was saying that not to worry, and that God will provide for you. Because I felt like I wasn't really there wasn't a lot of stuff that in that moment I felt like provided with, and I felt like I was like sort of just going and doing this thing without any mission, this life without any mission. And then he was like, he will provide for you. And I was like, okay, cool. And then next morning I get a text, and he's like, and this guy comes up and he's like, hey man, this is something that's on my mind. And it very much showed me a version of myself. It gave me a time to reflect and go, oh, I remember this kid. This was the exact same kid that was me at one point. And that's one of the things that I wanted to go and reach out to him and be like, hey, this is what you can do about this situation or whatnot. And it's just really crazy to see how the Lord also works with grieving. It's
Absolutely.
insane. It's crazy at times too, because the most unexpected things are probably what's going to happen.
Woo woo.
Woo woo moments, as we
As
say.
we call them, woo woo moments.
Woo woo moments where like everything aligns and like everything clicks, and it's just like,
The veil
oh,
is
my
very
goodness.
thin, and yes, it is powerful. And there was actually a study that I found, and I'm so sorry, I can't, for your listeners, I will have to come back and tell where to cite my sources, but that showed that there are those that grieve so much that they struggle to come out of that and may take their life. And the study showed that those that had faith, okay, could be a lot of faith, different faith practices, but that had a faith in a higher power were 80% more likely to move into healing and hopefulness from that very dark place. And I thought that was hard to deny. That is a powerful statistic.
I know you enough to know about your spiritual journey and your faith.
Yes.
Would you mind opening up to the audience and how that's helped you transition from out of grief into the real world, or just anything throughout life? And if you wanted to,
Yeah, you just tell me how much you want me to go into that.
yeah,
For me, my faith and grief. So I think that the day that I came back from the hospital, having just seen my dad die, I was in Bible college, and I came into my bathroom, and I just laid on the floor and I just sobbed. And because I felt like everything, like who's going to walk me down the aisle? Who's going to help me pay for groceries? Who's going to help me with all of life? And I have nobody. And so you want to talk about how is God going to provide? That version of me has stuck with me even till 46. That young girl who has to trust that something God bigger than her can provide for her.
Yeah.
And so my faith has taken many, many turns, but there have been seasons for me, and there was a season after divorce or right before where I was very angry at the version of God that had been given to me over and over again. And I started to believe that version of God, and I really just got very angry with God and was like, all right, that's it. I'm done. I'm just done with all of it. And so I say I had a very angry reaction to that and just needed space. I needed to get rid of this idea that had been given to me, even if that meant nothing. And since then, I would say about 2.5 years ago, I was in my car on the way to the beach, and I had just listened to a podcast, and they were not at all a, quote, Christian podcast, but it was one where they were saying, listen, if you believe in God and you want to hear from God or you want to experience God, then you just ask for that. And I had been happily ignoring God for probably about 3 years or anything to do with spirituality. And it was on that car ride back that God met me there in the car, and I just felt the presence of God as I understand him. And from that moment, it's just been a lot of people that told me, you won't find God outside of this or this type of church or this, type of understanding of scripture and this type of, you won't find him. And the opposite was absolutely true. Yeah. And it's been really sweet because especially in the last year, that has deepened and grown and blossomed, and you guys and as my children have helped contribute to that. But what that taught me for grief is that I could go to God exactly as I am, exactly what I'm feeling, when I'm like, I don't trust you at all. Like, I don't know what you're doing here. I don't know what's up, but it doesn't look like there is any way. And be able to be honest and him meet me there.
Yeah.
And be open to the woo-woo.
Yeah.
To be open to the things that I can't explain and be able to go, oh yeah, no, that's definitely God's hand on that, and moving into truth and taking the places where I doubt and bringing truth into that it's powerful. Yeah. And it's in fact, it's opened up the door for me to be able to go and grieve and heal things that I wouldn't face because I was afraid to be really honest.
Yeah. One of the things that I like that you said was that God was able to meet you where you were.
Yes.
And that time and time again has been one of the craziest things to me that I've been starting to realize. God will meet me where I am. And I feel like the biggest example of that, biggest moment of that was another way that I can advocate for, but it's like, hey, youth weekend, you guys should sign up. But last year, I went, like I said on the last episode, me and my friend Evan, we went to this thing called Youth Weekend at our church, and it was one of the most amazing experiences ever. That moment, and I'm not going to explain it because I will explain this on the actual episode of the Youth Weekend recap. All that to say, that moment that I had, God met me where it was, and and especially the week leading up to that. That was a insane week. It emotionally drained me. I was out. I didn't want anything to do with any, like, God's big plan for me could have kissed my butt. Like, I didn't want it. I didn't want any of what he had coming my way. I was like, I don't want it. And I remember just being where I was in that moment, and God met me in that exact place, and he gave me the words, he gave me the people to surround me, to carry me, and to, push me into a place where he knows that I needed to be, and where he could help me grow as a person. And that was very important.
Yes.
So
and to me that yells authenticity. Because it's authentic. You just said very honestly, this is where I was leading up to it. Yeah. And I think that's a big difference for faith that feels like true abiding, is like, it can be in the trenches. It can be in the what's uncomfortable to say out loud. It can be honest and authentic. And that is the moment that you're met. When you're just putting on this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I think I should do, this is what I think I should be like, or I can't come to God like this. I got to clean up first.
Very shameful point of view.
Yeah. And like you go to the dentist and you hadn't brushed your teeth in like 10 weeks, and then you go and you're not my Garcia kids. I mean, clearly.
Oh, never.
But you go and brush your teeth rigorously the day before. that you don't have to do that with God. Like it's actually Did you like that?
I love that.
I mean, I just pulled that out of thin
that
air.
is great.
Yeah. So you don't have to do that. It's nonsense. Just come with your nasty teeth to God, and it's fine. It's fine.
He will heal you. You might have some cavities.
He's gonna cover his mouth. He's gonna cover his nose. I'm gonna be like,
You're gonna have to.
Really?
You're gonna have to visit back to deal with your cavities. But
yeah, it's fine. The gum disease, don't worry about
don't worry. God's got you.
it. God's got you.
Oh.
Anyway, so yes.
No, but
It's facts.
this is actually facts. No, you are spinning straight facts. That's right though. Like, that is a way that I sort of like said it was. It was that's very much a shameful point of view that you
Yes.
can't do that. And for me growing up, I didn't really grow up in a shameful sort of outlook, because I remember a certain story
Oh boy.
where I threw something out of a window.
Oh my gosh, one of my favorite stories as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm fine with saying the story. I think it's funny. I just don't know if you would want that to be out there. I'm
fine with it.
I'm fine with it. So we
Okay.
roll.
So we roll. So do I get to tell the story?
Yeah, you can tell
Okay,
the story.
so
I get to enter. I get to enter in my commentary on it. So you go.
so I don't remember how old you were.
I didn't have an iPad, so I was probably like 10.
You were an iPad kid then.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were sorry. Okay. You were 10
About
and I
probably
was
10.
folding clothes in the dining room downstairs, and you had gotten in trouble for something, and I suggested that you go to your room.
Because the cousins were there, and I got embarrassed in front of my cousins. I was shamed in front of my cousins.
Oh, I don't remember that part of the
they
story.
were there. Yep.
Okay. So I suggested you go to your room to work it out and then come down when you were ready. And while I'm folding clothes, I see something floating down outside the window of my house. And then your little footsteps all the way down the stairs, go outside, close the door. You go right where whatever that was.
Yeah.
And pick it up, and you come back in, and I meet you at the door. Oh my gosh. And your face, you were not expecting me. And
This
you had
is like the reputation of the principal award kid.
oh, this kid's won the principal award.
He's little character. He's a great kid.
Firstborn.
Yeah.
Pleaser. Like, let me just make you
Happy.
and proud of me.
Yeah.
And
At that moment.
And this, you walk in, and then you have this look of terror. And I was like, what do you have, buddy? And you're like, nothing. Like, well, that's not true. Clearly you're holding on to something. And in hindsight, had I known what it was, I didn't need to see it because it was a private thought.
Yeah, but you're my mom.
But I'm your mom, and then I'm nosy. I was like, all right, well, let me see what it is. And you were so terrified, and you handed it to me. And when I opened it up, we can't say what it said.
No, we can't say what it says, but we can.
But on it was just a piece of paper. I'm going to say it without the extra.
Yeah.
But you said on the piece of paper, Mommy and Daddy are MFers. But it was spelled correctly. It was in your beautiful font
I have dyslexia,
that you have.
but
The dyslexia did not appear
Did
on that
not
paper.
appear.
You were accurate as you could be. And I remember immediately like, oh, man. Because it's like writing. And this is what I did. I said, hey, buddy, why don't you go to your room? I'll be up there in a minute. As a parent, I can tell you, like, I was trying to hold my laughter. Because it was funny in the sense of like, really? This kid? Like, what in the world? Ever since he went to public school.
Ever since we got out of that homeschool business, this man's been.
And so he's literally, I went up there later and I said, listen, that's like reading a journal entry. You did not intend for me to read that.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And
Because literally what I heard was, if you ever I don't know where I heard this from, but it was, no matter how you feel, just go upstairs in order to blow off some steam so you don't punch anything. Just write it down and throw it out the window.
Yeah. I don't know where you heard that.
I don't know where I heard the throw it out the window part, but I threw it out the window. And I remember seeing it roll, and it went off over the roof, and I was like, oh crap, and I had to like run down there.
And then was still found out because your mom's nosy. And so literally though, the lesson there was be honest, but hey, also when you're journaling,
Don't throw it out the window.
don't throw it out the window, but also for the intention of journaling, like say what you need to say, but you also need to you need to work through it.
Yes.
Meaning don't just angry rant. Like you've got to be
This
able
is true. No, that was
you got to be able to say, okay, I don't want to stay here. So
no, but that was one of the things is that when you were like, okay, go upstairs to your room, you and my dad were still married, and I was afraid he was going to give me spankings. So that's why I was worried. I
Right,
was like,
no.
oh crap! I just said.
In fact, he laughed about it too.
I
And it
didn't
was
thi-
one of those that were yes at the
He
time.
did?
Yes, he did.
Okay, well that's new.
Yeah,
because
but-
he looked mad when he came in when we were all
Well,
inside
yes,
this room.
of course, yeah.
But no, I remember just like you were like, hey, don't call us bad words.
don't say bad words.
Don't
about,
say
yeah.
bad words.
Like say it. It's like say it, but also
Keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Keep it private. Like now, I would say if you're going to do that, take it outside and burn it. Like
Yeah.
take it and burn it. You could write that journal, whatever is authentically true and honest in how you feel. Get it out, but keep it private.
No, and that's one of the things that I've learned growing up in this house is that shame is not
Tolerated. I
it's
have
not-
zero toleration
Yeah, you
for shame.
don't shame people, and I'm having to learn that with siblings, which is a big thing. Like not to shame them, but again, we throw around the roast battles a little bit every here and there, but no, it's good. It's good.
But what's different is siblings know each other's pain points.
That's true. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you know how to take each other out.
Yeah.
And so you got to be.
But it's
real
just
careful.
interesting because me and my sister will take each other out, and then we'll just be best friends.
Yeah, I don't understand that. That does not compute
Because
to me.
I think it's just one of those things where it's just like we understand, and it's like we're gonna see what new because it's always like in a way it's always authentic. Like you're always gonna know like this is terrible. Anyway, the point is that I love my sister, but I also love the story because it also like shows like there was no shame
No.
in that, and it was cool, and it was cool being able to come inside here with get no spankings, but it was also cool to be able inside here and see my mom in a light that I'd also never seen you before because we were also like absolutely terrorizing babysitters, like,
Oh,
and you would always be
Y'all
like
are the
you
worst.
weren't, but that was the first version of you that I earliest remember was you not being the person that you are today, where you were like, hey,
Yeah.
you can say this.
A
Just
lot had to shift for me to get there, but yes, I
there's a
eventually
lot
got there.
of shifting.
Yeah.
In that root of shame, though,
Mm.
a little bit is implanted throughout the church community.
Ah.
And this is one of the things I want to go out and say this.
Okay.
Because I heard this.
Oh.
I'm not going to say what church.
I know where you're going. Okay.
But they said
Hmm.
that the Enneagram is a cult.
Yeah.
And I want to say this. I love God, but I also love my woo-woo moments.
Yeah. And is Enneagram woo woo?
And the Enneagram, in my opinion, is not woo-woo. Now, the ways that he's shown up for me, there's some woo-woo moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's for sure some woo-woo
I
moments.
mean, he can talk
There's
to
some
a
stuff-
donkey. I
Yeah.
would call that.
There's some stuff that it's
woo-woo.
like we're gonna have a few episodes that come out, but if you really want to see the woo-wooest of the woo-woo moments,
Yeah.
we can't do that right now.
No.
We're gonna have to do that later.
Yeah.
When you guys know what's going on.
Yeah.
So we're doing woo-woo moments later.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm gonna
Second
give you
podcast.
I'm like little bit of spoon feed you little bits of it. And the first thing I want to say
Okay.
is the Enneagram.
Is it
Is it a cult?
well, okay, so as I've looked it up, because over Christmas break, my adopted siblings, and I got into a discussion about what is a cult because we mentioned this.
Was that the conversation I walked downstairs on?
No, that was the one in the kitchen. No, this is when we were at the park
Oh, okay.
and
I
all
was.
the kids were playing. And,
Yeah, I was not. Okay.
But a system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. So every religion could be classified as a cult under that definition.
Yes.
So what it does is it makes people uncomfortable because of different variations. But the Enneagram is simply a personality type indicator. It is a modality of understanding people better based on, it's got 9 numbers, and you're essentially, you test, and while nothing is what's the word I'm looking for? we all have a little bit of all of the numbers.
Yes.
But there is one number that's your dominant number, and
Yes.
then you go to a different number when you're stressed, and a different number when you're great and in growth.
When you are in growth, and then when you are in stress.
Right. And
Yes.
so while you have your primary number, like I'm an Enneagram 2, mine is all about connection. Enneagram 2s just want to have connection and be helpful and seen as helpful. But in stress, I go to 8,
Which is
the challenger.
my sister.
Her primary number is an 8. It's a fun time in this house. And so, and then in stress and in growth, I go to a 4, which is the individualist, and I become all things beauty and love and all the things. And that's when you know that I'm in my strength.
Yeah.
But you also have wings.
Yes,
So
this is true.
the 2, I am an Enneagram 2, wing 3. So you're the number beside you.
Yeah.
And so
This
you're,
is why I think that I'm geeking out a little bit, but I think I can humbly now say that I'm no longer a 6-wing 7. I'm a 3-wing 2.
yes, you are.
Because I researched it. I did a little bit of my own stuff, and I was like, I'm not gonna retake the test, but I will.
Everything I've sent you has.
Yeah, everything is sort of like matched up. I'm like, okay, yeah. The reason why I'm like, and for most people that have turned it off or skipped this moment right now, because
they're like, we don't do
we don't do that woo woo moment. All right, this is not the podcast for you then. But I will say that the reason I'm talking about this is because it's not. I don't want to incorporate this in shame. Also, I want to be like, I'm a Christian, and I also think that this
The
is
fact
okay.
that that's even up for discussion, that you couldn't be a Christian,
You're like,
it's actually steeped in. There are Christian practices that are linked to the Enneagram, but all that to say, think of it as a personality test. It's a way of understanding, but the difference is it's not based on preferences like. The Myers-Briggs type indicator test is based on how you like to structure your world, how you like to organize your world, how you show up in processing information. The Enneagram is about your core fear and your core longing.
Yeah.
And how that shows up in your world and knowing how when you're in stress, you're pursuing that core fear or that core longing in a way that is destructive versus in a way that is beneficial to you.
Yeah.
And so it's huge in understanding other people. And in fact, for me, because I love it so much, as soon as I know somebody's number,
Like, hey, this makes sense.
I know how to approach them.
Yes.
Whether it's a work issue, a relationship issue, whether it's it's conflict, I know how to approach them that will get the best outcome in the way they will understand.
Yes. No, I wanted to say that was my question. What in what way does Enneagram help you in, getting to know people? I think you answered it right there. My thing is that I like it to be able to understand people better.
Yes.
I think that allows me to be able to be like, okay, so I know what you're afraid of. I also know what, you when you're in growth, what that looks like.
Right.
I know ways that I can accommodate that and ways that I can be like, okay, I don't need to say that, or I don't need to bring this up. That to me has been one of the key points of getting to know someone. Like if now I don't ask everybody like, what's your Enneagram? But like,
Oh, I do.
you do?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What a difference. So a challenge I would have for you guys is that if you want to take the test, figure out what number you are, and then, learn a little bit about how I guess you function almost.
Yeah.
It's and even if it doesn't even help you, at least try it out because it's a new experience. Doing new experiences.
You're
are great.
learning about yourself, and you can learn about other people.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. The experience is really amazing to be able to do that and be able to research with other people and like, okay, this is how I work and whatnot. But if you do nothing, at least it was a good experience.
Yeah.
Another good experience.
And another one
was jumping out of an airplane.
Oh, yes.
Listen.
My boy.
Jumping out of an airplane.
Yep.
I want to die. So this was brought up. And okay, I do want to say this real quickly. The next episode that is released, it was outside. All right. And it was, there were wind chimes going off in the background.
It's fine.
It's fine. I tried to edit it as much as I can. Just trust.
Yeah.
It's all right. There was
gonna be
great
fine.
conversation. It was a great conversation. Halie, Thompson, and Molly Brown were on that podcast. It's going to be great. A little sneaky peek for you guys. But sneaky peeky.
Yes.
Evan fights me on that, but I call it sneaky peeky. Whatever.
I like it.
With that being said, that's what I want to say. But they brought up, I brought up the fact of that skydiving was cool, and I said I wanted it to be about this episode. I want to talk about it on this episode because you did it with me.
Oh, I did.
So I wanted to save this for this one. Last minute too. It was like an hour before.
Yes.
As we were driving to go to the place where we can jump, you were like, "Hey, let me jump."
Only because my brother had
Yep.
said to y'all, to all my kids since they were little, that he would take them jumping out of an airplane when they turned 18.
Yep.
And so in my mind, he meant that. And he called me and said, "Hey, I know he's 18. He can set aside this, but how do you feel? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, you could go and you could watch it happen." And I was like, "Okay, that's great." And in my mind, I didn't think to ask, "Hey, can I go jump out of the plane too?"
Yeah.
I thought, "Oh, this is going to be between Paul and
Yeah.
Jorge." So I didn't want to encroach on that. But then when we were driving up, I was like, "Hold up. Hey, Paul, are you okay if I jump?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm not paying for you, but I'm paying for Jorge."
Yeah.
Because it's not cheap. And I was like, "Oh, bet." I just used that word I don't like.
What?
Bet. So I said, "All right, well, then now I'm jumping."
No, she said bet.
I
You did say bet. You were in the car. You're like, "All right, bet."
bet. I'm going.
I was like, okay.
So I had jumped out of a plane before.
Yeah.
Not as many times as Paul. Paul does it for a living.
Yeah.
He's got like 1,200 jumps right now. But so he was able to jump solo,
Yeah.
clearly. But
And
you and
record
I,
me.
yes,
Yeah, but
and
we
were
did tandem. Yeah.
Mhm. Not together.
Not together. Lord have mercy. If we were together, we would have not landed.
That would have been awful.
Well, no, we would have landed. It would have been like a little like.
Yeah.
We would not be here right now. This would be podcast in heaven currently.
Yeah. But we got to sit side by side going up
Yes.
the plane, and that was pretty
We did.
spectacular.
For me, for you look like you were.
Listen, I was adjusting. The worst part is the plane ride up. You're in this little tiny rickety prop plane.
It's not bad.
It is bad.
For me, I thought that was the most exciting part.
Well, it didn't help that the pilot was like, "Oh, can I play some games before we get up there?" So he's literally doing 0 G's like I'm dying. And
I thought that was just a part of it. So I was like, all right, let's go.
And then I yelled out at one point, and then my guy that's strapped to me knocks on the door and goes,
Hush.
enough games," because I was going to lose it.
Yeah. One of the things, okay, so like a little backstory on it. During Thanksgiving, I not reunited, but I figured out that Paul was my uncle. He figured out that he was my uncle, guys. I just hung out with this guy. There's a comma. Paul, my uncle, comma. Listen, I realized that Paul, who is my
I swear
uncle.
he's known his uncle his whole entire life. Go ahead.
Listen, Paul, who is my uncle.
Yeah. You figured out what?
He lives close by, and he came over one night with my second cousin Colin. Colin, and he was like, "Yo, which by the way, we will have him on the podcast.
Okay.
That will be a dope podcast.
Okay.
No, it'll be at like 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It is gonna be.
I'll be long gone in bed.
Yeah. But the thing is that they came over to my dad's house and like, whatever. And Paul was like, "Hey, for your 18th birthday, I'm going to take you skydiving." And I thought he was joking because I was like,
He's been telling you that for
I know,
years.
but I didn't like get to like actually like digest it. I was like, "Okay, cool. You're going to take me skydiving, whatever." Right.
Right.
Fast forward, we're on Christmas break. He goes, "Hey, I'm taking you skydiving on Friday."
Yeah.
But the thing was that I was like, "Oh, I'm jumping out of a plane."
Yeah.
My heart started going, and I was like, "Oh, I'm jumping out of a plane."
Yeah.
And I'm an adrenaline junkie. I love roller coasters, all the great things. And then like he's like, so then I was like, "Okay, bet." And then he's like, "Okay, never mind, we're not going because the weather." And I was like, "Crap."
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like, and
Okay,
then like
we're going
literally the night going into it, he goes, "Hey, we're jumping out of an airplane tomorrow."
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, like let's go." And it's like 3 a.m. in the morning, and I can't get any sleep. And I'm just like, if I died, what would happen? Because my fear wasn't jumping out of the plane. I love jumping out of the plane. It was if the parachute wouldn't open. That was my biggest. Of
course.
That was the biggest.
That somebody else packed that you didn't get
Exactly.
to see.
I didn't get to see it. I was like, if this doesn't open, my first podcast won't air.
That's your biggest jerk.
No. That's a joke. That's a joke. My podcast is doing great. If my
Parachute
didn't end, my life as I know it ends.
Yes.
And then I had
my mother is above me watching
Yes.
it happen.
well, at the time we didn't know you were jumping.
Oh, okay, that's true.
She would have seen me flat face
Yeah,
on the ground and
yeah.
died. So, but the thing that I realized is I was like, okay. I was like, in the most nonchalant way, I was like, well, if it's God's plan, then it'll happen.
Oh boy.
So I was like, God, don't kill me.
That's an interesting.
Luckily, he was listening to me that day.
We'll dive into that later.
Yeah, we'll dive into it. But no, so I was like, okay, this is part of God's plan, whatever. If I die, I die.
If you die, you die.
And I just...
What a way to go out.
I know. Wouldn't want it any other way.
So you weren't scared at all in the airplane?
No. So that was the thing is that, so like my resting heart rate while walking...
driving.
No. While walking into the place signing the waivers like, hey, you could die. For 10 minutes, my heart rate was 107 to 109.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm going to die. Like it says like, you are not liable.
It says
we're
in
not
about
liable.
20 different ways on 3 pages.
Like, hey, if you die, you can't sue us.
You can't sue us.
We get away with it, and we get it on 4K.
Yeah.
So you can, like, that's just what it is. That's literally what they were saying. I was like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yep.
Anyway, so I signed my stuff, and I was like, okay. As we're getting into the airplane, the guy Eric.
That was your tandem.
Greatest guy.
Amazing. What'd they call him? Big Sexy?
They call him Big Sexy. Which, by the way, like, y'all don't understand. They act like it's jokes up there. And now I understand.
Lots of
but
jokes.
for the first time jumping, they act like they're just like, hey, bring Big Sexy back. I'm like, I'm trying to bring me back.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to die. But yeah, so they were like, all right. And I thought that was the pilot. So that's why I was like, I'm going to bring Big Sexy back.
No, it was
your
Eric. Tandem.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. But your resting heart rate going in the plane was a lot lower.
Going to plane was like 81
to
85. And I was chilling.
And I could see it because you were it was adorable. You were so hyped.
To jump out of that plane.
That your energy, like all the guys were loving it. Because there was us, tandem, then the rest of the plane. The rest were these seasoned guys jumping out that've been like 3 jumps that day.
Yeah.
They've got the mohawk on their helmets. Like they're total.
And that was one of the things I just loved
they loved your energy.
I loved it too because like I was trying to like show that I wasn't nervous. So that's why I was like, okay, how are you doing? Like I was just checking in with Eric.
And Eric said that was the first time anybody had ever asked him how he was doing.
And I was like, I'm doing great, Eric. How are you doing?
I'm experiencing it for the second time, but as a mom,
you're right beside me, looking at me.
Beside my firstborn child, and it was not I loved it, but I had to intentionally come into that moment of like, it's all going to be okay. He's going to be fine. His parachute's going to open.
The first podcast will air.
Oh my gosh.
I will get that second episode.
We will have this episode.
No, because I remember telling you, like, before we even went skydiving, when you went on your trip, I was like, hey, you can't die until we record the second episode.
Yeah,
then you can die.
And I was like, all right, I won't die until after.
Yeah. No. But then like my heart rate started picking up, and as you can tell, my leg was shaking. Like I was nervous because it wasn't like to jump out. Again, I was thinking like in my brain, like I was like, okay, I'm going to jump. It's going to be great. And then like right before we started, like right when we got to like 14,000, which I heard we got above.
We went to 15.
We went to 15.
Because they
right at like 14, 15, like as he's strapping, I was like, oh,
yeah,
I'm jumping out of an airplane. My parachute might not open.
Yeah. I had the thought walking up when
and that's my leg started shaking.
Yes.
But it wasn't until Eric like pulled me in and he was like, hey, we're a team now. And I was like, oh yeah, we're a team now. So I was like, that was like when he said that, like when I tell you all fear left my body, like it was just like, whew, and he like supported me.
Oh,
I feel like it's really funny. Like I went back to school and like, keep in mind, I've jumped out of a plane one time and like we're in career prep and this new teacher's just like here and he's just like, or not career prep, entrepreneurship. And this new teacher's just coming in and he's like, all right, what's one thing you guys like to do? Right. And then me being like who I am, it's just
I like to jump out of planes.
It was like, hey, Jorge Garcia, I like to jump out of planes. He's like, how many times have you done it? I was like, one. He was like, tandem. I'm like, yep.
You got to put that in at any time.
No, like for real. That's literally what, like, I'm not even kidding. Like, so like in my anatomy class too, there's like, I'm not kidding. There's 4 guys and then like 30 plus girls. And all these girls are like, the guys are all in one corner and all these girls just surround us in this classroom. And like, I remember like, one of our teachers the teacher was like, hey, hope you guys had a great Christmas, right? He didn't even ask, like, what'd you do for Christmas?
You're like, airplane.
I was like, I jumped out of an airplane. I skydived. Tandem, guys. But yeah, no, I was like literally.
Does anybody want to play charades? Because I've got a word.
I got a word. Tandem. How do you spell it? I don't know. Tandem. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
You're gonna be on again.
Okay,
Like I
please.
just know. And then you're also gonna be able to witness other episodes too.
I know.
You're gonna like co-host it sometimes too. So
I love that.
it's gonna be great. But yeah, no. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to today's episode. If you haven't already, make sure you guys go and subscribe. Thank you guys for viewing, watching, and doing all the things. Love you guys. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.